Jagad-bija-madhyam Niriham Nirakaram Onkar-vedyam Yato jayate palyate yena vishvam Tamisham bhaje liyate yatra vishvam. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dear devotees, so last Saturday we had started our study of the 13th chapter of the Gita. And before we go ahead, let us just revise what we had discussed in the last chapter. So in the last class, we had seen that what is this 13th chapter dealing with? This 13th chapter deals with the true nature of Ishvara, most important part. And Shri Krishna is making us understand the true nature of Ishvara through the exposition of two things. What is Kshetra and what is Kshetragya? In and through the exposition of what is Kshetra and what is Kshetragya, Shri Krishna is making us understand what is the true nature of Ishvara. So in the first verse, Krishna actually states, first two verses, he has given us the complete picture of what is the meaning of that supreme reality. He said that this body is known as Kshetra, field, simple. And one who is knowing this body is the knower of the field, known as Kshetragya. So two entities. One is Kshetra and the other is Kshetragya. And it is Kshetra which is referred to as this. This point is very important. And Kshetragya is referred by I. So if you remember in the last class, we had mentioned that if you look into our day-to-day life, the life of a living being, it is a continuous interaction between I and this. I am interacting with this. Everything that is distinct from I is this. And we had raised a very important question in the last class, that we need to determine one thing. Where does this body fit into? Does this body fit into the category of I, or does it fit into the category of this? Presently in our state of ignorance, owing to a mysterious force called Mahamaya, we have taken the body which is this to be I. If you really begin to investigate into the true meaning of I, it will be discovered. It's a discovery. It will be discovered that this body can never be I. The body is always this. This body is just as much this as this table is this. We don't refer to this table as I. No one would do that. No sane person would do that. Any person who, in his normal state of mind, cannot say that this table is I or the sofa is I. The sofa is always this. It cannot become I. Similarly, this body is also as much an object as this table is an object, or a sofa is an object. So Sri Krishna started his first verse so beautifully, referring to the body as this. Idam shariram kaunteya. And this body is referred to as this, that which is referred to as this is the kshetra. And one who is knowing this body is kshetragya. Then, just by understanding this much, have we attained the complete picture of the reality? No. There is one more thing to be known. This kshetragya, which is appearing in all the bodies, as if it is separated and different, is it really different? Are there so many kshetragyas in so many bodies? If you just look into the human population, around 8 billion. So are there 8 billion kshetragyas? Beautiful point. If the human population is 8 billion, the question is, are there 8 billion kshetragyas? No. That is the second beautiful statement coming from Sri Krishna, where Krishna says, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. In all the 8 billion kshetras, 8 billion I'm just taking as an example. We have left out the whole animal kingdom. If you include the animal kingdom, we can't even count. What is the number? What it means to say that in all the living beings, living entities, what is appearing to be the individual living entity, actually all those living entities are nothing but me, the Parameshwara. It is me, the one Parameshwara, who is appearing in the form of all these kshetragyas existing in so many kshetras. So here we are handling three things. One is kshetra, second is kshetragya, and the third is Parameshwara. Actually, they are not three distinct things. They are apparently three. But when we investigate into the true meaning of what this I is, when the kshetragya investigates into what is my real nature, that kshetragya will discover that it is Parameshwara who is appearing in the form of the kshetragya as well as in the form of the kshetra. It is one Parameshwara. That say very Parameshwara is existing in the form of the kshetra as well as in the form of kshetragya. Ultimately, the conclusion will be nothing else is existing apart from Ishvara. That's why Vedanta says, whatever we are seeing, it is all Ishvara only we are not understanding it. This is the most beautiful form of so-called Ishvara. So, our tendency to limit Ishvara to one particular form, a big question is raised on that. It may be good for a beginner in spiritual life, but as we grow in spiritual life, Vedanta wants us to go ahead and begin to see Ishvara not limited in any one particular form, but with open eyes that whatever we are seeing, it is all one Ishvara. But this is not a theory. This has to be experienced. Seeing God with open eyes, seeing God with closed eyes, and seeing God with open eyes. This is the main subject of the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, Shankaracharya, and also Sri Ramakrishna. So, the first two verses, Krishna spoke about this picture of Parameshwara existing in the form of Kshetra as well as Kshetragya. And then in the verse 3 and 4, this very knowledge is praised. Sri Krishna had said, Rishibhir bahudha gitam chandobhir vividhai pratak brahma sutra padaishchaiva hetu matbhir vinishchitai. This very supreme knowledge has been sung by Rishibhir, by the great rishis of the Vedas. And it has been spoken by the sentences of the Vedas. Chandobhir vividhai prathak and hetumadbhir vinishchitai, and in and through Brahma Sutra Padaischa and hetumadbhir, through the very rational sentences which point out at Parabrahman. Hetumadbhir means rational, and Brahma Sutra Pada means those sentences which point out at Parabrahman. Even such sentences, through such sentences, this is the one thing which has been ascertained, the true nature of Ishvara. So this is just a verse in praise of this great knowledge. This knowledge is praised so that we get more and more interested in it. Sri Krishna is slowly drawing our attention towards it. He wants us to be more curious. He wants us to have more thirst for this knowledge, to know it in more details. That is why this fourth verse is in praise of this great knowledge of Ishvara. Now, let us go ahead. Now, in the first two verses, as we saw, in the first verse especially, Sri Krishna spoke about Kshetram. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidiyate. This body is referred to as Kshetra. Kshetra means the field. That means anything which is known. Anything which is known. This is a very important point. Here the classification is between the known and the knower. These are the two entities existing in this very body-mind complex. See, this is a description of our own self. We are being described here, each one of us. In our own body-mind complex, there is one dimension which is known as Kshetra. And in this very body-mind complex, there is another dimension, which is the knower. Both of them together is what we are presently. We who consider ourselves to be human beings, we are just a mixture of the knower and the known. And whatever is known, it belongs to the category of Kshetra. It belongs to the category of matter. And the knower, it belongs to the category of consciousness. So one is Chetan and the other is Jada. Whatever is known will be Jada. The knowing principle is consciousness. So it is the classification between Jada and Chaitanya. It is a classification between matter and consciousness. It is a classification between the knower and the known. It is a classification between I and this. The true meaning of I is always consciousness, but today in our state of ignorance, we have somehow considered this body which is actually matter, which is actually an object. We have mistaken this body to be I. This body can never be I. This is the conclusion of the Vedanta and the Upanishads. So now, let us go ahead. Now what Sri Krishna introduced in the first verse, saying that idam shariram kaunteya. Idam shariram. Now what does this idam, what is the range of idam? Let us understand this idam very clearly. Then we shall come to what is aham. What is kshetragya? That will come later. It will start from verse number 12 onwards. So presently in the next two verses, Krishna is going to tell about what exactly this idam is. We need to clearly understand what we are not. Presently we have taken many of these things which we are not to be our own self. This is the root cause of all the problems that we have in life. Human beings, why do we suffer? We suffer in life only owing to this identification with something which we are not. So first we need to clearly understand what we are not. Idam is that dimension which we cannot be. So let us try to understand what this idam is. What is this kshetra? What is this so-called objective material dimension? This material dimension, we can never be that. So Krishna now describes this so-called, the dimension which is referred to as idam. Let us see, what does this idam mean? What does kshetra mean? So in the 5th verse, Krishna says, Mahabhutanyahankaro buddhiravyaktamevacha indriyani dashaikamcha panchachendriya gochara ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghatas chetana dhriti etat kshetram samasena savikaram udaratam. Verse number 5 and 6. Now this is a description of idam. This is the description of kshetra. Now this actually includes the whole of the so-called material dimension. Nothing is left out. How? Let us just see. Let us see the meaning of these 2 verses. Krishna is saying, I will take each item. The verse number 5 says, Mahabhutani ahankaro buddhi avyaktam evacha. The first line, it says Mahabhutas. Mahabhutas means the great elements. Second is ahankara. Third is buddhi. And the fourth is avyaktam. Let us start with avyaktam. That should be the right way it should be interpreted. Let us start with avyaktam first. Let us first take avyaktam. What is the meaning of avyaktam? Avyaktam refers to Maya, the Shakti. Whose Shakti it is? It is Brahman's own Shakti. Brahman's own Shakti, which is the cause of all this, what we are seeing here. Let us start with this avyaktam, because that is the source from where everything proceeds. Yaya jagat sarvam idam prasuyate. Shankaracharya says, this Maya, the Shakti, Brahman's own Shakti, which Shankaracharya so beautifully refers to it as Paramesha Shakti, a beautiful term. It is Atma's own Shakti. Yaya jagat sarvam idam prasuyate. From where this entire world which we are experiencing, Vyakrita and Avyakrita, manifested and unmanifested, all those 3 states of human experiences, the sleep, the dream and the waking, the dream and the sleep, all this, everything is proceeding from this root Maya Shakti, which is referred to by the term Avyaktam. So let us first take this Avyaktam. Avyaktam. Now, this Avyaktam is idam. It is kshetra. Now, this is the description of kshetra. Item by item. The first thing we need to understand is this Maya and Maya's effect. Maya karyam. Mahadadi deha paryantam. Shankaracharya says in his Vivek Chudamani, Maya karyam mahadadi deha paryantam. Starting from that subtle Maya up to this gross body, the whole range, starting from the unmanifested causal state to the subtle, and from subtle to the gross. This is what is this world. Now what we are seeing through our eyes, it is just the gross dimension. Behind the gross is the subtle, and still behind the subtle is the causal. That causal dimension is what is referred to as Maya, which is Atman's own Shakti, which is referred to as Paramesha Shakti by the great Shankaracharya. So it is from this Paramesha Shakti, Mahamaya, this entire world proceeds. And the very cause of everything is itself Edam. This is the description of Kshetra. Let us remember. So the first thing in this dimension of Idam is Maya itself, Avyaktam, which in the 7th chapter Krishna described this as Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. This Mahamaya, which is Daivi, this is Brahman's own Maya. And to cross over this Maya is extremely difficult. It is only a person who has taken refuge in me Refuge in me means refuge in Parabrahman, Parameshwaram. Only that person can cross over the domain of Maya. So, the first thing that comes in the range of Idam is Mahamaya, which is here referred to as Avyaktam. And what is the first effect of Avyaktam? Avyaktam is the causal state. From this causal state, first proceeds is the cosmic subtle, which is referred to as Hiranyagarbha, or in a technical term, it is referred to as Mahat. That is what is here Krishna is referring to as Buddhi. Now we are going reverse, okay? In the 5th verse, if we just see, Mahabhutani, Ahankaro, Buddhi and Avyakta. We have taken Avyakta first. From Avyakta, which is the causal state, the first thing which proceeds, the first thing which comes out is Buddhi. Buddhi means Mahat. Mahat means Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic subtle. From the causal state, first thing which comes out is the cosmic subtle, which is Mahat, which is here referred to as Buddhi. And from this cosmic subtle, then comes Ahankara, third. Ahankara. From that cosmic subtle, Mahat, Buddhi, comes this I sense. And from that I proceeds Mahabhutani, the great elements, the Panchatattvas. Do you see? And these Panchatattvas, they grossify and become this gross world. So, it starts with Avyaktam, which is Maya, the causal state, becoming the cosmic subtle, which is Hiranyagarbha, or Mahat, which is referred to here as Buddhi. That becomes Ahankara, and that becomes the 5 Tattvas, the great subtle elements. We have seen in the last class, what are these elements? They are Bhumi, Rapo, Nalo, Vayu, Kham, Kham. Bhumi, Rapo, Khalo, Analo, Vayu and Kham. These 5 elements. Now these 5 elements, they become, next sentence, Indriyani Dashaikam Ja. The 11 organs. What are the 11 organs? The 5 organs of the senses, the 5 motor organs, and mind. These are the 11 organs. Karanam, Indriyas. The sense organs are 5. The organs of action, they are 5. And the 11th organ is mind. Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, and Mana. That is what is referred to as Indriyani Dasha Ekam. Indriyani Dasha. 10 organs, 5 organs of senses and 5 organs of action. And Ekam. Ekam means Mana. The 11 organs. Now it is that Panchatattva has become the 11 organs. And Panchacha Indriya Gocharaha. The 5 objects of senses. Now, what is this world? Now, we are all experiencing this world through our sense organs. This world which we are experiencing through our sense organs, it is nothing but the 5 senses and the different objects that it can perceive. Do we have any idea apart from these 5 sensory perceptions of the world? We have no idea. Our idea of world is only completely Panchendriya Baddha. It is completely limited to, bound and circumscribed within the range of the 5 sense organs. We don't have any idea of anything existing beyond the 5 sense organs. Swami Vivekananda says, if you had a 6th organ, you would have seen a different world. So our idea of what is world, whatever our senses are revealing, we think this is the only world. So Panchacha Indriya Gocharaha. Indriya Gochara means whatever we are seeing through our sense organs, the 5 sense objects. Now let us go back. From where did we start? We started from Mahamaya, the causal state. And this Mahamaya is Atman's own Shakti. That should not be forgotten. Shankaracharya repeatedly keeps on saying this point. Agni Ushnavat, Agni Ushnavat, Agni Ushnavat. Just like fire and its burning power. Agni is fire And Ushnata means heat. Fires and fire's heat, are they two different things? You can't imagine fire without heat, and you cannot think about heat without fire. Similar is the relationship between Maya and Brahman. You cannot think about Maya without Brahman. It is Brahman's own Maya. So starting from Maya, the first manifestation is Buddhi. From Buddhi comes Ahankara. From Ahankara comes the five elements. The five elements transform into the five sense organs and even the mind. And also the entire range of objects which the sense organs are experiencing. The whole thing has come in. Is there anything left out? What? Now, all these things are idam, okay. Maya is idam. Buddhi or Mahat is idam. It is not aham. We are determining the meaning of aham here. We have presently mixed up aham with idam. This Maya avyaktam is idam. Buddhi, which is the first product of Maya, is idam. From Buddhi comes Ahankara, is idam. From Ahankara comes the five great elements, it is idam. This. From the five great elements come the 11 organs. It is idam. The 11 organs are idam. Mind is idam. Mind is not aham. Our five sense organs, they all belong to the category of idam. Our karmendriyas, organs of action, they belong to the category of idam. Mind also belongs to the category of idam. Finally, the different objects that our sense organs are perceiving, that also belongs to the category of idam. So why Krishna is describing this in detail? So that first let us be clear about what is the meaning of aham and what is the meaning of idam. This clarity has to be brought about through a penetrating investigation into these two dimensions. The dimension called Kshetra and the dimension called Kshetragya. The dimension called idam and the dimension called aham. Now the story is not complete. Now the list continues. The fifth verse says, beautiful. Next item is Ichha. Is this Ichha? What is this Ichha? It's a beautiful term. We are all experiencing Ichha in life, is it not? We are full of Ichhas. Ichha means desires. Desires. Why do we desire these objects? Shankaracharya beautifully tells this in his Bhashya. He says, what happens whenever at some point of time I experienced a certain object, and in my experience of that object the end result was pleasure. I ate an ice cream. So the experience of that interaction with that object was pleasurable. So next time again when the ice cream comes before me, automatically it takes the form of desire, Ichha, because I think this ice cream is the source of pleasure. This has somehow got into our head that this ice cream is a source of pleasure. That makes me have desire for that particular object. Ichha. Ichha means desire. Now, is this Ichha aham or idam? Find out. This Ichha also is idam. You are not that. These are all objects which are known. See, now from the earlier the fifth verse. In the fifth verse, we were discussing something which was more gross. In the sixth verse, here the description is completely mental. Ichha is something antakarana dharma. Shankaracharya says, Ichha is the quality or the attribute of the antakarana. The body doesn't have Ichha. Where does Ichha emerge? It emerges in the antakarana, in the mind. So we are going to a subtler dimension. So Krishna is saying that this Ichha is also idam. Now what is the opposite of Ichha? Dvesha. Dvesha is what? Repulsion. Now the same psychology. At some point of time, I experienced certain object, and the result of that experience was unpleasant or it was sorrowful. So next time again when that object presents itself before me, my attitude towards that will be repulsion or hatred. Is it not? This is what is known as dvesha. So one is ichcha, the other is dvesha. One is desire and other is hatred. Now, just as this ichcha is idam, this dvesha is also idam. We are not that. We are neither ichcha, we are neither nor dvesha. Towards the end of the 7th chapter, Krishna says a beautiful thing. He says, this entire world, the entire universe is completely gripped by this ichcha and dvesha. He says, ichcha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharatah sarva bhutani sammoha. So profound observation. Sarva bhutani sammoha. All the living entities, they are completely deluded. Sammoha, sammohitam. They are completely hypnotized. They are completely deluded. Deluded by what? This duality of ichcha and dvesha. This duality of desire and repulsion. We are all gripped by this duality. You see, what is human life? We are either attracted towards something continuously, 24 hours. You see, our life is nothing but a continuous experience of either getting attracted towards something or experience of feeling repelled from something. Is it not? We are constantly avoiding certain things or we are continuously getting attracted towards something. This is how Krishna says, Sarva Bhutani Sammoha. All the living entities, this is not only human beings. This is actually speaking an animal behavior. Pashu Subhava. Pashu, you see, if you hold, Shankaracharya beautifully in his Adhyaksha Bhashya, he says, if you hold a bundle of grass before a cow, suppose there is a cow standing there. If you show a bundle of grass to it, what will be the behavior of that cow? The cow will naturally come towards the grass, is it not? It cannot resist it. Because for the cow, that grass is something which will give it pleasure. It is driven, that behavior of the cow to come towards the grass is the outcome of the idea that it will derive some pleasure by having that grass. And similarly, Shankaracharya says, the same cow, if you stand before the cow with a stick in your hand, what will be the behavior of that cow? The cow will run away. Is it not? This is pure Pashu Swabhava, which is continuing in the human beings also. We are all just having this animal nature. We are either attracted towards certain objects because somehow it has got into our head that that object is going to give us pleasure, or we are repelled by so many things, which is a cause of so-called sorrowful experiences for us. So this dvandva moha, this delusion created by this dvandva of what? Ichcha, dvesha, samutha. This delusion which is born out of this duality of ichcha and dvesha, this entire world is completely gripped by this. Everyone. Where is freedom? It's a big question. Where is freedom? Who is free here? We are all bound hand and foot. Now this is all the meaning of khandana bhava bandhana. Okay. We are discussing in Sri Ramakrishna's terminology, we are actually discussing khandana bhava bandhana. This is bandhana. Who is free here? We are all bound by these 12 throng. The 12 throng of likes and dislikes. Likes means desire and dislike means repulsion. Like means ichcha and dislike means dvesha. Now, why is Krishna stating this here? To make us understand that we are neither ichcha we are nor dvesha. Ichcha is idam. Dvesha also is idam. It may come in the mind, but I am not that. This is the thing which we have to learn and put into practice. Ichcha may come and dvesha also may come. It is antakarana dharma, Shankaracharya says. So beautiful. It is the dharma of antakarana. I am not that. Ichcha is this and dvesha is also this. It belongs to the category of this. Then, sukham and dukkham. Similarly, sukham. Sukham means what? Anything which is favorable, which gives us a pleasant experience, Shankaracharya says, which gives us a sense of tranquility, is sukham, sukhanubhuti. Is it not? The sukhanubhuti is also antakarana dharma. This is also idam. This is not aham. This is clear. This is actually speaking Viveka. Viveka is going on. Vivek Chudamani, those who have studied. That very Viveka is, the whole of spiritual life is nothing but Viveka. That is why Shankaracharya says, Chudamani. What is Chudamani? It is Viveka. Nothing is greater than Viveka in human life. And there is no spiritual life without Viveka. This capacity to clearly distinguish between idam and aham, between anitya and nitya, between kshetra and kshetragya, is what is Viveka. So here Krishna is pointing out that this dvesha is also not aham, and ichcha is also not aham. They belong to the category of idam. And sukham and dukkham also belong to the category of idam. Dukkham means the opposite of sukham. If sukham is something pleasant, something which makes us feel good, favorable, which makes us feel tranquil, dukkham is just the opposite of that. Something which is adverse to us, something which is unpleasant, something which disturbs us. Dukkham. That is the nature of dukkham. But this dukkham is also idam. We are not that. It belongs to the category of idam. In antakarana it may come and go, but I am not that. This is just an object. Just as this table is object, this is just an antakarana dharma. So ichcha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham. Then comes sanghata. Important point. What is the meaning of sanghata? Sanghata means the aggregate of this body and organs. Dehendriya sanghata. Aggregate of this body and mind. This body-mind complex. This body-mind complex is what is referred to as sanghata. Aggregate. The collection, the gross and subtle and causal. We are made up of these three bodies. According to Vedanta, now see, when we talk about body, we only know the physical body. Is it not? Usually, whenever we talk about body, our idea is only the physical body. But no, behind this physical body is nothing actually. It cannot function, it cannot do anything without the subtle body behind it. And the subtle body is absolutely helpless without the causal body behind it. The more and more we go deeper, we will be discovering the tremendous powers which are lying, which are lurking behind this physical framework. We are all caught up only at the physical level. That is the problem. So we need to investigate and we need to go deeper and deeper into our own personality. So Shankaracharya says this sanghata, this aggregate of this body and the organs, this also belongs to the category of idam. This conglomerate of body and the organs, it cannot be aham. This is idam. Just like this glass is idam, this dehendriya sanghata is just idam. It is not aham. Then chetana. What is this chetana? This chetana means sentiency. The translation is sentiency. I'll just try to make it understand. Shankaracharya very beautifully says sentiency. Now, truly speaking, this body is inert. Is it not? Now, we don't see consciousness in this sofa. Is it not? It is jada. It's inert. We don't see consciousness existing in the sofa, in the table. in this watch, there is no, apparently we are not seeing any consciousness there. But in this so-called the living being, in this body, we are seeing consciousness. It is Chaitanya is seen there. But is really the body conscious? Body is just jadam. It is just inert matter. So how is that this body appearing to be sentient? Shankaracharya gives a beautiful example. Just like a lump of iron. You take an iron ball. A lump of iron, when it is heated to a very extreme temperature. What will happen? It will turn into a fireball. Is it not? Actually, the fire is not the dharma of iron. Fire is not the dharma of iron. But when the iron ball is heated, it will appearing to be like fire. Similarly, this body-mind complex, it is appearing to be sentient and chetana. It is appearing to be conscious. Why? In the last class we had discussed. It is Atman's light of consciousness which is first reflecting in the antakaranam. And from there, that consciousness is pervading into this inert body. That's why this inert body is appearing to be as if it is Chetana Vat or Chetana Van. It is appearing to be as if it is conscious. Actually, this is a dull, dead matter. Just look into a dead body. Where has the consciousness gone? A dead body is, absolutely speaking, nothing different from this table, is it not? You push a dead body, where has the consciousness gone? As long as it was alive, it was appearing to be conscious. When it was alive, it is moving, it is moving its head, it is saying no. Once it is dead, it cannot do any of these things. What happened? Even now, this body is actually speaking nothing but dull, dead matter. But it looks and it appears to be sentient owing to the presence of the light of consciousness behind it. But actually it is jada, inert. So this chetana which is seen in the body, that also is idam. It's a very important point. That is not aham. This also is an object which is experienced and which is known by somebody else. So chetana. So ichha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham, sanghatas, chetana. And last one is dhritihi. What is dhriti? Dhriti means fortitude. It is translated in English as fortitude. What it means is, Shankaracharya says in his commentary, that when the body and the organs become exhausted, whenever this body and mind becomes klanta, tired, we all experience fatigue and time. There is a capacity in the body and mind complex itself by which it holds the body and the organs together. This capacity of which is inside us, which holds this body and the organs together, and it keeps it going on. Even when we are fatigued, even when we are tired and exhausted, see, we all keep on going ahead, no? That is called dhriti, fortitude. The capacity in us, in all of us, it is there. See, when we are working, sometimes we work, we overwork and we become tired. But still, even in that tired state, we keep on doing work. Something important is there, is it not? That capacity is known as dhriti. When the body and organs become exhausted and tired, there is an inherent capacity in all of us. That capacity which holds this body and mind together, that is what is known as dhriti or fortitude. This dhriti is also idam. Then Sri Krishna says, etat kshetram samasena. All these are what? Kshetram. Samasena. I have only spoken briefly. I cannot talk about it in detail. In details it is endless, limitless, is it not? How many items should I take? So I have spoken only briefly. Samasena etat kshetram. Savikaram udaratam. I have spoken. Udharatam means I have spoken. Samasena savikaram. Kshetram along with its modifications. I have spoken about this kshetram, this dimension, the so-called material dimension, the dimension which is referred to by this pronoun called idam. I have spoken briefly along with all the modifications. So to conclude, this is a very important point. Let us once again, we should first understand what we are not. We are none of these things. Today's main lesson should be, we should first know what we are not. What we are will come later. What is our true nature? It will come from the 12th verse. So now Krishna is first telling what we are not. Let us be very, very clear about this. See, we all want to be freed from sorrow and suffering in life. But this freedom from sorrow and suffering in life is never going to come as long as we are identified with something which we are not. This breaking this identification is what is khandana bhava bandhana. And this has to be done now. Human life is meant for this. Being born in this human body, Shankaracharya says, if you don't strive for this khandana bhava bandhana, you have lived in vain. So thrilling. He says, labdhva kathamchit narajanma durlabham tatrapi punsvam shrutipara darshanam yastu atma muktav nayateta mudhadhi sa yatmaha swam vinihanti asatgraha. How sad that being born in this human body and having got all the opportunities, everything. We got the Guru's kripa, we got mantra and everything. So many good things have happened in our lives. And in spite of that, if we have not utilized this rarest, precious birth in the human body, if we have not utilized it for this purpose, the purpose of khandana bhava bandhana, we have lived in vain. So this is how we have to strive to be freed from this bondage, to actualize khandana bhava bandhana, to actualize this breaking away from this bondage. And that way, this is the way to do it, by disidentifying yourself from what you are not. So all this long list which was now spoken by Sri Krishna, all this belong to the category of idam. This is not aham. Now you have to apply this to your own self. Find it out. Just check it out. You check out this list after you go back. Avyaktam is idam. Buddhi is idam. Ahankara is idam. Mahabhuta is idam. The 11 organs, idam. And the 5 objects of senses, idam. Ichha, idam. Dvesha, idam. Sukham, idam. Dukkham, idam. Sanghata, idam. Chetana, idam. Dhriti, idam. We are none of these things. Let us make this point very clear. Etat kshetram. This is the whole range of so-called idam. Now, what is aham? What is the true nature of kshetragya? That will be discussed from the 12th verse onwards. Now, I will just introduce the next verse. Maybe I can take the 7th verse also. We have 10 more minutes. Now, in the 12th verse comes, what is our true nature? What is the meaning of aham? Is it not? Idam we have seen. What we are not, we have seen. What is kshetra, we have seen. No, what is the true nature of kshetragya? That will be spoken in the 12th verse, from 12th to 17th. Those 5 verses will be the beautiful description of the true nature of Ishvara, which is also our true nature. The description of the true nature of Ishvara is what? It is our true nature. We are that. Aham means that. Aham is not this. So that will come from 12th to 17th. Shankaracharya says here, now to have that experiential understanding about what is my true nature. My true nature is the true nature of Ishvara, or Ishvara's true nature is my true nature. They are one. This point should be very clear. Who is this Kshetragya? Kshetragya is knower of this body. The true nature of Kshetragya, which is referred to as I, which is presently understood as the Jiva, the Jiva is actually speaking absolutely non-different from Parameshwara, Parabrahma. But to understand this, to have an experiential knowledge, not theoretical, to have an experiential knowledge of this true nature of Parameshwara, which is also our true nature, for that we need some competence. We need to be eligible. It cannot come if we are not competent. For every such thing, for spiritual experience, we need to have some competence. Without competence, this experience is not going to come. Otherwise, it will just remain as a theory. So, what are the things which will make us eligible or competent to have this great experience? Now, that is what is the subject matter from verse number 7 to 11. 4 verses. Beautifully, Sri Krishna is listing out certain virtues which we need to cultivate that will make us competent and eligible to understand verses from 12 to 17. The verses from 12 to 17 will be the description of the true nature of Parameshwara, which is also our true nature. But to understand that, we need to have first certain competence, certain eligibility. That competence and eligibility will come only by developing these virtues which are stated in from verses 7 to 11. So it's a long list, and we will long list, but every item is super important. Because without this, we may talk about Ishvara Prapti, Bhagavad Gyan, Bhagavad Darshan and all these things. It will be only talk. We talk and talk and talk, nothing happens because we don't focus upon what we are supposed to do. Now the next 4 verses actually talks about what we are supposed to do. Now, the previous verse talked about what is Kshetram. That's fine. But how do you disidentify with it? We are now strongly identified with Kshetram, is it not? We are all strongly identified with this dimension of this. Now, how are you going to overcome this identification with something which you are not? How are you going to do that? Now comes spiritual practice. Practice important. Praxis. Without this practice, nothing is going to happen. Ishvara can be attained through the practice which the Guru tells, the practice which the Shastras tell. Now what is that practice? That is the whole list. Every item is extremely important. No one can actually speaking succeed in spiritual life without putting these things into practice in our day-to-day life. So spiritual life is actually a complete transformation which we need to bring about in our every movement of life. We have to bring these things into reality, these wonderful virtues which now Krishna is going to talk about. Now let us see what Krishna is going to say. I will just read out the list. Today already the time is up, 5 more minutes. And we will take up the detailed discussion. Every point has to be detailedly discussed. Let me just enumerate the list here in the 4 verses. Krishna says, Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham sthiryam atma vinigraha indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam asaktir anabhishvangah putra dar grihadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishtaništopapattishu maicha ananya yogena bhaktiravyabicharini vivikta desha sevitvam aratir jana samsati adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshanam etad jnanamiti proktam ajnanam yadatonyatha. So beautiful. We will take up the discussion of these things in the next class. I think we can stop it here because it's not possible. This should be taken independently, and the next class is going to be very interesting in the sense that this is what we are supposed to do in life. How much ever we may talk about Kshetra and Kshetragya, in between comes these practices, the disciplines. Without really implementing these disciplines in our day-to-day life, that Kshetragya, the true nature of Kshetragya, will never be understood and experienced. It will just remain as a theory. So, in the next class, we will see what these disciplines are. So, we shall stop here. Om Shanta Shanta Shanti Hari Om.